This is Wild About Liberty, where the community joins together. Now here's your host, Terry Wild.
Thank you for tuning in and listening and watching on Facebook Live and Twitter and Rumble and a whole bunch of other mediums. We really think we have a good show for you today. We're going to be talking to our guests. First of all, Lynn Petersdorf, you are the connector.
Yeah.
And you have been doing a lot of important work over the years in Fresno County. You've been bringing people together, and now you brought me together with Jeff Mora. And very interesting to meet you, Jeff, and to find out what you're doing. And you represent an organization that has a certain mystique.
Okay.
And the John Birch Society, a lot of people don't know who they are, what they do, except maybe they've heard some conspiracy theories about that whole organization. So we're going to talk about it. We want people to know who you are, what you're doing, and what Lynn is doing in regards to bringing the John Birch Society to Fresno County and letting people have an opportunity to be involved with and to receive a lot of resources that you folks offer.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And give us a little bit of background, Jeff, about your job and tell us a little bit about the society.
Thanks. Well, first, thanks for having me, Terry. I appreciate you having me on. What the John Birch Society pays me to do is go around and talk to different groups around Central California. My territory is from Fresno all the way to the coast, as far north as Modesto and over to Monterey, and then as far south as Northern California. And I travel around and I meet with different groups.
Yeah.
Like Northern California, where? Up to...
You mean Southern?
I'm sorry, Southern California.
Okay.
Sorry.
Southern California. Northern Los Angeles is my territory, just over the hill.
I
there,
gotcha.
Past Kern County, but we've got a group in Bakersfield. I do have some groups down there in northern LA area that are doing some really great work. And then my territory, I guess, my home territory is right up here in Kings County. So we've been making a concerted effort to try to, keep Kings County a conservative stronghold within the state. And with that, we'd like to, keep Fresno, Kern, Kings, Tulare counties, all of these, and Modesto, all these valley counties banding together because, I believe that this is the real power in the state should belong to the farmers
That's right.
and the growers here. And I'd like to see this conservative area really blow up again with more. We had a lot of birching activity back in the 60s and 70s when we first started.
Exactly.
And then throughout the 80s and Barry Goldwater, and before that, into the Reagan era. And then, when Bush got elected, I think a lot of them just kind of fell off.
Yeah.
And like a lot of voters, once you put somebody in place, that you think is your conservative, who you think is your guy, a lot of people kind of, and let's be honest, we aged out. A lot of birchers that were heavily involved in the 70s and 80s, they've aged out. And so because of the smear campaign that was levied on the John Birch Society right from the very beginnings of our organization, it really left a stain in a lot of people's mouths way back when who didn't understand that the media is controlled. Newspapers are controlled, TV is controlled, radio is controlled, everything is controlled. And so people, when they heard this back then, that the John Birch Society was far-right extremist organization, and well, in the 60s and 70s, people didn't want to be associated with that, so they kind of shied away from that. And I guess, Terry, our name it's not the sexiest name. It's not, InfoWars or Turning Point USA. It's not like, it doesn't grab you, but the John Birch Society, we will never change our name because we named ourselves, our founder, Robert Welch, named the organization after somebody who I think is probably one of the greatest Americans who ever lived, in John Birch, Captain John Morrison Birch. Who died.
I'd like to hear more about him because 20 years ago, good God, we are aging out, aren't we? 20 years ago, I was invited to a John Birch meeting in Saratoga, California area. And I remember not wanting to let anybody know I was going to this meeting, first of all. And then thinking I need an exit door so I know where to run out of.
Right.
And because it did have the same opposition. Now, we're used to it now.
Yeah.
Trump is kind of giving us the the insight to the tactics that these people are using, and they used against the John Birch Society back then. Nullifying them, marginalizing, putting out false information, and so that's just like everyday stuff today now.
Right, and we never really fully recovered from that, from that back in the 60s and 70s, but we have had a lot of success throughout the years. We never went away.
Right.
We are here, and behind the scenes, whether you've read about us or not, we don't get a lot of press because of that. They don't like to put us in the news.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, we've done a lot of things. Stopped carbon capture pipelines throughout the Midwest. We've brought about regulations, or brought about educating people on gun regulations and the dangers of any kind of red flag laws, that can deter our Second Amendment.
Well, Liberty Coalition, Lynn, was founded on unity, strategy, and organization. And so we've been here 4 years, and I'm telling you, it's not easy.
It's not.
You can't get people. It's like herding cats. And getting a consensus, getting agreement, all working together for the same thing is really, really hard. And so what I've been hoping for is somebody like the John Birch Society. You've got the Moms for America now. I mean, they're an outstanding organization. They have organized and they put a network together that's functional. And you guys have a powerful organization that we need. And so tell us how you're organized. How do people get involved?
Mm-hmm.
What's the plan for the John Birch Society? As far as our listeners are concerned, why should they care? Why should they want to be involved with the society?
Sure. Well, the two things: education and action. That's a lot of groups out there. There are so many that have popped up over the years that are doing a wonderful job of providing information and putting the alternative news out there, which is fantastic. But the John Birch Society also does that. And we do that with easy-to-read brochures, pamphlets that we've been printing out over the years. We put out new pamphlets every few months on everything that ranges from election integrity to Agenda 2030 to getting the United States out of the United Nations. We have so many different tools, I should say, in our toolbox to educate people that really kind of sets us apart from everybody else. Is we're already printing up the pamphlets. We've already got this information on there for you to easily hand out to your people, your constituents, the people that trust you. We work more on a local level in living rooms and in personal connectivity. So our chapters are comprised of 8 to 20. 8 to 20 people in a living room. And we can have more than one chapter in a county, absolutely. But we like to keep these chapters small. And what that really does is it keeps the infiltrators out. Because if you, Terry, are hosting one of our meetings in your living room, tell me about that meeting that you went to all those years ago. It was in someone's living room, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was in a private home.
And you were personally invited to this.
I was personally invited.
Because you're a patriot. You're a good, moral, upstanding person.
Yeah, plus I had a printing press and everybody wanted to...
You had something people needed.
I think they still love me.
Yes.
But yeah, it was a small meeting. Good people. I enjoyed it. I remember walking away thinking, well, they're not as crazy as they're saying that they are.
Yeah.
But it's hard. People are gullible. I'm gullible. That's why I'm in the publishing business. I'm in a newspaper business.
Yeah.
And I know that there's an approach to getting people to believe what you tell them. And so we're seeing that play out. We would not have Biden and Kamala Harris and these freaks in the White House today if that weren't true.
True.
How could you convince anybody to vote for those people?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be semi-lunatic.
From a basement, mind you.
Yeah, or a reprobate. But it just astonishes me. I think I couldn't sell that. I think I'm a great salesman.
Right.
I couldn't sell those guys. How did they get there?
Well,
cheat. But other than that,
well, cheat, and it's a globalist plan to destroy the United States. That's all there is to it.
Tell us about that, because that really is true.
Uh-huh.
and you're no longer a classified conspiracy theorist. But if you say that today, because people know that's true.
Right.
So describe it to us.
Yeah, the globalist plan is well, if you do some research and look into the UN Charter, look into what their principles are, what they're founded on, it's anti-America all the way.
Now I remember that same statement way back with
Yes.
John Birch Society. Nobody would buy that.
We've been screaming about get the U.S. out of the UN was one of our first
I
programs that
remember
Robert Welch launched.
specifically.
Because it's a globalist conspiracy. It's one world government, one world religion, one world currency. It's total control.
How are they a religion? How do you see them being a religion?
Oh, okay. So last year, in the COP Egypt summit in COP 2022 in Egypt, they came out and revealed this climate religion on the
Yes.
world. Did you see this? They came down and they actually broke these fake commandments, like 10 commandments.
Really?
Yes. These globalist leaders came together to unveil this what they hope to be this one world religious. One world religion, which centers around Earth being all powerful God and not Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. So,
Well, Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior, is a pretty profound statement. I think people are looking for that. We're a faith-based organization, and we don't try and manipulate people's personal beliefs in Christ and keep that away from our, discussion. But we do cooperate on issues, but we're always looking to God.
you have to.
I mean, how can you not? We had a guest at Liberty Lunch today who just sat on a chair and told a story about George Washington crossing the Delaware and fighting the Haitians.
Mm-hmm. The
But
Germans, yes. Yes.
You want to accept Jesus after you hear that. I mean, it is so miraculous, and how that came about, and the sacrifice, the 9 miles they had to march in the freezing cold, 2 people froze to death. That's a compelling story. But they ran out of human resources. They had no more human strength. They had to rely on God. Mm-hmm. And that's the same story throughout our history. So the religion of the UN, a little bit more about that.
I don't pretend to know a lot about it, but I can tell you that they've been aiming for a one world religion just from the very beginnings of Adam Weishaupt and the Illuminati when they were formed in Bavaria in 1776. That they've been wanting this one world religion, one world government since its inception. And so we, as God-fearing Christians, have to fight back morally. And that's why the John Birch Society says that we need God's help. We got to have God's help. The Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. You can very much feel God's power in those words. Many of the signers of the Declaration were themselves pastors or ministers, men of the cloth, men of God. And so we all know as conservatives that the Judeo-Christian principles of the Bible lend themselves to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, pretty much a carbon copy of the 10 Commandments. Mm-hmm. So we have to live our lives like that with God's help, morally upstanding people. And then the other part of our John Birch Society mission statement is that we need to have less government. Less government and more responsibility.
Do you think we're ever going to get back there?
I don't know. Well, that's what we're fighting for, though.
Less government.
Yes.
I'll give you an example, Lynn, on the system of voting now. The top 2 get to run against each other. Mm-hmm. How did they get that past us? I mean, that is the dumbest.
Well, in my opinion, it came about because of our lopsided California legislature. The news.
Exactly.
We used to have 20 in the assembly in Sacramento.
Right.
20 Republicans, and out of 80. So who are the other 60? They're leftists, and they can do whatever they want.
The supermajority.
Yes. And then, of course, you have the Senate, which is like, I heard it today. What was the numbers today? But today it's now 18 to 62, okay, in the Assembly. And then the Senate is even worse. So, and that's my opinion, is that they had the power and they did it. We've turned into a blue state.
Well, you have a reputation for finding people, number one, and then helping promote and connect people together. How'd you find Jeff?
Well, before I go there, I made a couple of little notes here.
Sure.
Because Jeff didn't mention the date that John Birch Society was founded. What was it?
1968. Yeah.
68. That was the year I graduated. And then the website has so much information, so much more resources for conservative Christian values. That's what we're talking about, is biblical values being translated into the government and our culture and our society. That's what we want.
It is.
Even if
Absolutely.
you're not a Christian, a lot of people who are not Christians, they still believe in the values that are taught in the Bible.
Yeah.
And the third thing was my history with you in particular. Okay, but I started working on the Trump campaign in 2016. Then I moved up here to Fresno in 2018. I met you right after you moved up here, 2019, or down
4 years
here.
ago.
Yeah.
Almost to the date.
And so in 2019, I was looking for something to do because my good friend Lupe Espinosa, who ran for assembly, I had helped her, and the election was over and she didn't win. And then I said, well, God, what do you want me to do next? And it took about a month, and he kept telling me that I was a connector. How did he tell me? Everywhere I looked, I saw the word. Everything I read, everything I heard on YouTube, on whatever I was doing, I kept connections, connector. And I finally just went, okay, what do you want me to do about it? And that's when I went to Salt and Light Council, because I had met Dran Reese, because I didn't know the details on Salt and Light Council, but it was like I was compelled to go to that website. And on the first page of that website, under About Us, was the word, we are connectors.
Isn't that something?
Of the churches. That's their main goal, is to connect the churches.
Right.
And I thought, oh, okay. So I called them up and I got trained as an affiliate with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then that led to a long road and finally ending up in Selma. And one day I'm working at the office a few months ago. It was actually about September, end of September. And I got a call from a gentleman. Who was that? I keep forgetting his name.
Oh, Eli?
Yeah.
Kawhi?
Yeah.
My
He called-
counterpart in Southern California.
Yeah, he calls and he says, I met your pastor and I'm calling to talk to him. And I said, well, he's not here right now, but I'd love to talk to you. And so he told me what, and of course, I'd heard of John Birch. I just want to say that I have a connection, sort of, with Tulare County, because I was born and raised in Tulare County, Tulare and Visalia.
Mm-hmm.
And Dennis Smith down there ran the Tea Party. And in his group were John Birch members. And I loved those people. I just walked into the meeting, fell in love. Went to that meeting for a solid year and a half before I moved up here. And so I already had a positive
Nice.
picture. And so he had Jeff call me, and we met. And you came over and met my pastor. And then the next thing I know is I'm going to your meeting in Hanford.
Yep.
And
She got the personal invite, just like you did. She got the little,
Yeah.
come to one of our get-togethers.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
and I want to say that those people are just, if you have any biblical values or conservative values, or believe that our country needs to regain those biblical values so that we can survive, go to one of the meetings and find out. I fell in love with the people all over again over in Hanford, and I think I've missed two
Only-
meetings
Yeah, only two.
since then, and I'm studying more. And I want to say that John said that there used to be a high of 80,000 members across the country. That's a lot of people. That's
Yes.
a lot of people in one organization. And now John Birch now has 30 to 40,000. So we're on a push. They're on a push, and I've decided to help.
Well, you know, one of the things that people should care about, again, is organization. We don't have time to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly. Another one of my mottos.
And we have the window now, the clock is ticking, 2024. If we lose 2024, if we lose the House, if we lose the presidency, we're in deep, deep trouble. And so more people are waking up, more and more people are getting it. But where do they go? What do they do? And so the point is we have to get the vote. And we can't just get it from preaching to the choir.
Right.
You know, we're outnumbered 2-1 on voter registration in California. So we've got to find a way to get our message to the Hispanic community, to the Black community. We've got to get our message out to the Hmong community.
And the churches.
And the churches. And these are people groups that may or may not have reached a point now where they're ready to say, I've had enough.
Right.
But that's where the votes are.
Yeah.
That's where we get the votes. We don't get them from, attending all the Republican Party functions. Right. Those are good.
How do you reach out to those that aren't?
How do you get to those other people?
Sure.
So what resources do you have for that, Jeff?
So, like I was saying, we have something that's an excellent tool that we promote through our website. It's absolutely free. Again, everything that we promote is free. We have so much free resources just on our website alone, jbs.org. Look that up. You'll find access to videos, information, speakers, pamphlets. So much free information is available just through our website alone. But we've got a very interesting tool that we've been using since 2011. It's called the Constitution is a Solution series. It is a
The Constitution Solution series.
It's the Constitution is the Solution.
Is the solution.
It's a 7-part video series that, if done well, and groups all over the state, all over the country have been putting together these video series. It's either 7 weeks or, whenever. Sometimes you can do it in 3 if you break it up and do 2-hour sessions. But the videos themselves are only about 45, maybe an hour long. And they break down the Constitution for you by one of our hosts, who's also a field coordinator in the back east. His name is Robert Brown. He's the one who's going to be doing our nullification webinar this Thursday night. But Robert Brown also hosts the Constitution is a Solution. This is a class that we put out there. It comes with materials, comes with study guides. If you wanted to teach the class, we would give you everything to become the teacher of the Constitution is a Solution. And then you get certificates for everybody who passes. It's an actual class that will help you better understand the Constitution and live a constitutional lifestyle, so that when you see these politicians on TV, or you see these bills coming across, that you can read them and understand, once you've watched this series, what's unconstitutional about these bills, what's unconstitutional about these, what these politicians are saying even.
When I listen to you talking about that, a story comes to my mind in the Bible where the young king became a king of Israel, and the temple had been degraded. The things of God had been ignored. People were seeking other gods. And so they were cleaning up the temple, and they found the scrolls. And so they took these scrolls to the king, and he read them, and he started to cry. And he rent his clothes. He said, why haven't we known about this? Why have we let this get into disrepair? And so he called a national assembly, and he said, we are going to serve the Lord our God. We're going to return to the Lord our God. We're going to rebuild the temple. We're going to honor him. And as you're talking about the Constitution, it's very similar in my mind. We've let the Constitution, we let the dream of America diminish. And we've always had evil here. So it's not like we've never been evil. Not everybody in America is pure and good. We all have sinned and come short of the glory of God, but there's been enough people to hold up and uphold the beauty of the dream that's America. And as you're talking about that constitutional class, we have to relearn the same way Israel had to relearn to come back to our God and come back to our values and come back to
Yes.
what we believe in.
Right.
So how do you, as we're talking, the name John Birch Society needs to be rebranded in the sense.
Well, tell them the
Let
story.
Let me tell you, I
Okay.
hear that. I hear what you're saying,
Okay.
and believe me, Terry, we've had a lot of people over the years tell us that.
No, I don't mean change the name.
Oh, okay.
No,
You're
I don't
just saying
mean change the name.
rebranded? Oh, okay.
It has to be reintroduced,
Right.
Uh-huh.
educated, and
Brought back into the limelight. You're
put
saying.
back into a positive light
Yeah.
because it has been beaten down.
Mm-hmm.
It has been beaten down, and by the same people that are beating us down right now.
Yep. That's
That's my point.
That's a great point, though. That's the excellent. It's the same companies. It's the same people, and now they're exposed. Now that President Trump, in 2016 gave us the term fake news. Everybody uses it now. Everybody knows about it now. But in the 60s, 70s, 80s, no one knew what was fake news. You thought what Tom Brokaw told you on the news was real. You thought whatever Walter Cronkite said was the absolute truth. Now you find out that it's not. He's just reading a script. They're all just reading a script.
Stunning.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that campaign that was levied against the JBS years ago, it's stuck. And a lot of people, because I go talk to a lot of groups, a lot of conservative groups, and they're filled with people over the age of 50, right? Lots of people who remember the civil rights movement, and they remember the campaign that was levied against the JBS, and they've still got a bad taste in their mouth. And so I have to come around and say, hey, what do you think about the JBS? And they're like, oh, we heard they're a bunch of wackos, a bunch of conspiracy theorists, far right activists. Does that sound familiar, Terry?
Well, it does. And look at what they're saying, why they're wackos. They're saying that
Why?
there's people in the White House that are conspiring against our Constitution. They want to nullify it. They want to eliminate it if they can. They're taking over the judiciary, which they did for many years, and they had the Supreme Court there. So all the things that I heard people complain and criticize the John Birch Society for have turned out to be absolutely true. And now we see it before our very eyes. But what scares me? They're not stupid people.
No.
And if they don't care that we know, that means we've got a problem.
I think
How do you see that?
they're so wide open now. They just don't care anymore. The plan
Well-
is out there. It's in full swing. There's not much that we can do to stop it, I feel like, is what they think.
I just want to say that I think something's going to happen still to wake up more people, and the getting to the people, like through podcasts like this, for instance, but inviting them and getting their curiosity up about. You've mentioned the word nullify a couple of times. You applied it to the nullifying the Constitution. Okay, let's not do that. We don't want to do that. We're the strongest. JBS is the strongest organization on the Constitution. Let's learn and talk to people. And I have been talking to people the last couple of weeks about this webinar we're doing tomorrow night. And all of a sudden they're going, what's this about? Are you going to take away the Constitution? No. This is nullifying laws.
That go against.
Yes, in Article 6 of the Constitution, there is a procedure, a process that any citizen can activate, and it's even being done in states like Florida and Texas right now, okay, where they can nullify the law that has been imposed upon them as being unconstitutional. We as citizens, local, counties, school boards, city councils, we have that right given to us in the Constitution to nullify laws and mandates and regulations that are unconstitutional.
Yeah.
How do we do it?
How do you prove they're unconstitutional?
Well, that's what do you mean? How do you prove?
How do you can say something's unconstitutional. How do you get to the level of nullifying it? What evidence? What?
That's what we're going to find out tomorrow night.
Yeah, and it's
we're going
got-
to get the details.
Right. Getting the
Okay.
So let's talk
And there's
about that.
But it can
also
be city, city councils,
Yeah.
county board of supervisors.
I mean, nullify them?
No,
Yes.
they are the ones that can nullify, like when the
I got
state
it.
comes through.
I got
when
it.
Gavin Newsom comes down and comes through with and signs off on these laws
Right.
and these edicts and these
Which
mandates.
are illegal laws.
Illegal, or even that's what we're nullifying the illegal laws, the laws that go
Right.
against the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution. So the power of nullification, like Patty or like Lynn said, I'm sorry. There's Patty right there. That's why I said that. But that power of nullification isn't just it's not just it's a duty.
But it doesn't.
and
It's
it's
your
a-
duty to nullify it if you're an elected official to nullify these, because your obligation as an elected official is to uphold and defend the Constitution.
Right.
The
you
state
take
Constitution.
That. You
the-
take that
Now-
oath. So what I want to say is, it's not what I read. There's a 7-page article that we can refer you to, plus books, plus Robert Brown has done many videos on this teaching, and it's not just for the school board to say, well, you can't do this to us. It's for the individuals to band together, and John Birch Society has helped people get through that process, and they are actually winning. Okay?
Right.
To be
right.
able to nullify means to just refuse to act. Refuse to take that mandate.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take it back to this webinar tomorrow night.
Uh-huh.
What time is it?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock tomorrow night. There's going to be a webinar. This is a great way if you're listening, watching on YouTube, whatever, and you have an interest for more about the John Birch Society, then this would be a way to find out. So tomorrow night,
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Isn't this?
But you have to reserve your spot ahead of time.
You have to
How do they
register
get
for
to
a
it?
Zoom call.
How do they do that?
They have to email lpconnections@yahoo.com.
Oh boy. Okay, so lpconnections
At Yahoo.
at yahoo.com, and then they can get the information
Yeah,
for the
but-
webinar.
And then you'll have the information sent to you.
Jeff, do you know if this is actually posted on the JBS website?
Go on jbs.org and
It's under education.
under education.
And you
then-
can also find, there is a QR code. I don't know whether you can,
But
that
see,
you can go to register for this. And it is coming up.
It really
So-
does take the training to be able to get the brain to understand this nullification thing. Because we went through something like that recently. I don't even want to get into it, but it turned out to be
Yeah. That's not the same thing what
Less.
you were
Okay.
talking about.
Yeah, this isn't this is for the Constitution. This isn't secession.
Right,
this isn't
right.
a lot of people think it's are we seceding or no, it's the right it's actually in the Constitution that it's our duty to nullify states'
But
laws.
these are the tools we need.
Yes.
These are the tools that
Right.
generate real. I've been telling people that the business that we're in, if you're a patriot and you have any kind of an organization like we do, we're in the business of power,
Yes.
taking power away from the bad guys, giving it to the good guys.
Right.
we the people.
Well, how do you do that? You just don't walk up to somebody and say, okay, I have power. Now I'm going to.
Well,
you have to have.
This will go into the how to implement it, and then when I talk to the guy that we've been talking to, he said that they even have legal teams that will help us. Okay,
That's another
all
area.
right. So
Huge.
sometimes you don't even need a legal team. You just need a letter.
But sometimes you do.
Sometimes you do
But a letter will do a lot though with the proper
with the proper terminology.
Yeah.
Right. So tomorrow, 7 o'clock, webinar. Again, where do they go to get it?
go to jbs.org.
JBS, so John Birch Society, jbs.org. Look it up. You can find the webinar. And then
Under education. Yeah.
And can we also post this on your Facebook page or
we
Terry?
can. Yeah, we
yeah,
can.
I
Now,
can get that on there.
I'll be honest with you. I'm having trouble. It's sort of a one-man band.
Oh, okay.
Trying to put all that together. That's why I'm saying we need people that
Help.
have established, ability that they can maintain. We're struggling at Liberty Coalition just to keep the doors open. I mean, I'm telling you, it's a challenge. But I want to recommend people like you, for example, the legal power. We've tried to get an association of lawyers to do some pro bono work on a regular basis for the school choice amendment.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something else I want to ask you about.
This can apply for school. The problems that we're having in the schools, this can also apply for that.
Well, here's what we have available to us if we're able to pull it together.
Mm-hmm.
In 2026, we're going to have a gubernatorial election in California. So we've got to get past the 2024, so that's the priority. But we have to look ahead, too. Excuse me. And so 2026, we're going to elect a new governor, hopefully, or keep the one we've got. And so the way things are lining up with Dale Brune and the school choice amendment,
I saw that.
with Dran Reese, Salt and Light, because, Dran Reese has put together everything you need to know about biblical voting and the
public schools.
Public schools, but the parameters of your 501c3.
Mm-hmm.
So there really isn't an excuse not to be involved at some level in politics if you're a church.
And I want to say also, then that whole ball of literature and resources is multiplied by like 100 times when you go to the JBS site.
Right.
But they are also, we do have people who work closely with Dran and Salt and Light.
Sure.
But you have to consider there's 40,000 members in JBS. Okay. So consider that, because that's a big organization. So we need to, it's kind of like an umbrella, maybe. I don't know. It may develop into something like that.
Well, I'm really glad to have you guys on the show, and we want people to be able to have options, resources, how to get organized. There's so many good groups in Fresno County. I mean, really,
Oh, yeah, you need to talk about that.
committed people who are putting time, money, effort out
Sure.
because they want to win. But, one question that I had for you, how do you work with those groups? How do you support them in what they're doing rather than just saying, no, you just have to be a John Birch guy?
Right. So what I come in and offer is more education for them and just tools for them to empower their group to continue with, how
Do you have a group membership?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
The national organization
Can
has
you,
a
in
membership.
other words, say Liberty Coalition wanted to join as Liberty Coalition with John Birch? Do you have that? No.
Individual.
Yeah.
Individual, right.
Yeah. Now you guys could, what usually
Sometimes
happens.
you have like an affiliate program.
What usually happens is I'll come talk to a group, and a few of the leaders will become members, and what they will do is form a chapter within their group. So like Liberty Coalition will 6 to 8 of you will form a chapter within, and you could still call it Liberty Coalition. It's still, but you're powered by the John Birch Society.
And you're going to help facilitate that, right?
Well, I'm working on it, yeah. And so, Jeff, you should tell them what are the benefits of being a member.
Okay. Well, but when you become a member, the best thing is that you get 2 free issues of the New American Magazine every month. We've been putting this magazine out. I don't know if you guys have a publication here at the Liberty Coalition. I heard you guys talking about putting together a publication. Here's ours. This is the New American. It comes out twice a month, and it's
and look at the title for this week.
This week's controlling elections. We had Dr. Douglas Frank, who's come through the Central Valley a couple times. I sponsored a couple of his speeches in Kern County and in Kings County. I know he's been up here to Fresno County because we've been talking to the group that's working with him up here. So I put Dr. Douglas Frank together with the JBS. I brought him on as far as a speaker's tour. So now he's on our speakers bureau, and we just did this 3 articles in there.
Yeah, on elections.
Usually 2 to 3 main articles inside the magazine, and Dr. Douglas Frank is doing one of them. And he, as you probably already he's got a plan to expose election interference on a local level. And so that's the one thing I wanted to also say is that we're about local politicians too. Not just, I know there's a big presidential election coming up next year, and then you said there's a gubernatorial election, but there's also, excuse me, a lot of other elections we have to take part in, right? The assemblymen. We have to make sure we send conservative assemblymen to Sacramento. We have to send conservative congressmen and senators also. And then we also have to make sure that our city council members and our board of supervisors are conservative and want our values. So all these other elections that lead up to the presidential elections, those are just as important. And have we not found out how important the judges' races are with
Yes.
that
Oh, boy.
Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals? How many dirty judges are there in this country? Those judges are voted in by we the people, so we really have to keep in touch with all of that. And what I
So
want,
there are 2 issues of the New American that come to you monthly.
And then
okay?
twice-
And then you also get the bulletin, which I really like because not only do they inform you of the current issues for that month, they give you action bullets in order to what am I going to do
with
this month?
I have all this education.
What am I going to do
What can
with
I do
it?
with it?
What's
right?
the John Burt's position on Israel?
What is our position on Israel?
On Israel.
Oh, well, we're America first at the
Oh, I
John
love
Birch
that.
Society.
Right.
And if you and you're free to worship your own God, I suppose. But we're mostly Christian in this organization. Most of us, I'd say, are God-fearing Christians. But if you're free to practice whatever religion you'd like. Is
Right.
what I'm saying. So
Are
Yeah,
you
I
talking
do.
about the war?
Well, I'm talking about, there's a threat, a challenge to Israel being considered unique. God has a plan for Israel. I don't know what it is. I stay away from dispensational theology. I stay away from all this kind of, charting the future. But I was just curious.
I would just say that as far as we don't have an official stance on
Okay.
Israel or
Yeah,
what's
right.
happening over there, but
Right.
we did put out quite a few articles in our last issue of the New American about the Israel-Gaza war
Right.
and information you should know before you form your own opinion.
Because there
That's
are
right.
people
Exactly.
like well, I don't need to get into that.
Yeah.
But all right. So now John Birch Society, Fresno County, where's it going? What's happening
We
with
don't
us?
have an
So
chapter here.
yeah, we're starting a chapter here in the Fresno area. We've got something going on in Kings County. We've got some going on in Kern County. We're going to get something started after the first of the year, right, Lynn? Yeah, after the first of the year, we're going to get some meetings started here in Fresno.
Well,
And
we have a meeting place. This
Look at
is
that.
this
Perfect.
is where
See?
we could meet.
there we go.
I didn't want to
Perfect.
say anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and we would love to be able to bring some speakers in. I know at the Liberty Coalition, you guys, you're having speakers in weekly.
Sure.
We would
But
love
we
to be
could
able.
set a night aside or a luncheon.
It can be
or
a luncheon.
Whatever.
Why break the wheel?
Breakfast.
You guys are already doing something great here on a weekly basis. We would love to be able to bring in a different speaker once a month or so, or whenever it's convenient for you guys. But we would love to be able to bring more information and more ammunition to your fight.
That's right.
Okay? For
That's
freedom.
right.
Well, you have an invitation to do that here.
Okay,
So,
good.
Lynn, as you know, the battle is on. This isn't, we're in the fight.
It is a battle.
And
It
we
is
are-
a battle. I just want to say that again. It is a battle, and people in my community ask me, "You give us all this information. What are we supposed to do with it?" I said, "We're in an information battle. And the more you know, then what you do is you wait for God to tap you on the shoulder. This is what I want you to do with that information. I can't tell you what to do. I really can't. We can give you a lot of options, and then you pray about it. If he says, I just want you to be a prayer warrior, okay, fine. But eventually, you will see people that will say, I don't know what happened, but I was dreaming the other night, and God said, I have to do this. I have to run for office. I have to do this, and it happens that way. We've got to quit relying on people to manipulate and control others and to give them handouts to run. I am 110%. I know that God will direct you. If you have a heart for our country, he will tap you on the shoulder and get you moving.
Nice. I agree with you. Well, where do you go from here?
Well, one thing I wanted to bring up is that we do oftentimes keep tabs on all the elected officials. So we keep a Freedom Index, which comes out twice a year.
That's very nice.
We take 6 bills and then we rate every senator and congressman on how they voted for or against the Constitution. We take the bills and we decide whether or not that bill is constitutional or unconstitutional, and then we see how the congressman, senator, or it's on down to our assemblyman now. We're on down to state levels with our scorecards and our Freedom Index. So if you go to The New American, which is our magazine, TNA, thenewamerican.com, you'll see in there the Freedom Index, and you'll be able to see how your congressman rates.
Well, here's what we have to do before you go. We need to sit down, and you have to give me some radio voice lessons.
Okay.
And I want to have that nice radio voice going. And you're awesome. What a pleasure to have you on the program. Look how fast it's gone by.
I know, that was so quick.
There goes an hour.
Thanks for having us.
And
man.
Lynn, again, you are a connector, and God's really given you a gift, and we appreciate you and what you're doing. Thanks for tuning into the program today.
Thank you.
Wild About Liberty.
Thank you for having us.
We're wild about liberty. We're wild about you. Thanks for tuning in. God bless.
Thank you for listening to Wild About Liberty with Terry Wild, only on KXEX 1550.